and we welcome AJ, who's the Executive Vice President for APAC and MEA at RateGain. He's going to be sharing some key insights from the State of Distribution report, a global benchmark covering over 700 hotel brands, so we can look at a clear look at today's distribution challenges, growing complexity, shrinking teams, and the tech gaps holding hotels back from scaling direct revenue. And thanks, AJ. You are a gold sponsor for the conference, so I appreciate that and your support. Thank you so much.
Well, hello and a very good afternoon, everyone. I love the energy of this city. It's always a pleasure to be here. Well, there's a quote I love. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And well, with AI and emerging tech shaping our industry, the hotel commerce is at a 1,000-mile journey of its own. And the first steps we take today in terms of how we shape our teams, our tech, our approach, will define who wins with travelers and who falls behind. But well, before we dive into data and strategies, we are all in this for a reason, right? To serve our travelers. So I thought, what better way to start the day or start the session with my own traveler journey. Are you ready to listen to that? Yeah. Lovely. I have a tough task to keep you engaged through the next 20 minutes. Well, I travel often, sometimes for business, sometimes solo, sometimes with my family. And we have this very interesting ritual in our family where we go to a new destination every year. And this time, guess what? We landed in Koh Samui. And as we went through each of the stages, from inspiration to planning to booking to staying and beyond, I expected my journey as a traveler to be one simple, seamless journey. But for the hotel, it turned out to be 100 disconnected pieces of a puzzle. I ended up switching sites, double-checking prices, entering the same details on different places and getting different answers. The content confused me as a traveler. So for me, what was supposed to be one simple journey turned out to be 100 disconnected pieces for the hotel. And that paradox, my friends, is where our story begins. What we did to kind of further deep dive on this experience was we partnered with a leading hotel distribution association as well as a hospitality school to do a survey covering 300 plus cities, 700 plus hotel brands, and 21,000 plus hotels. One of the largest surveys of its kind, it helped us understand how hotel commerce is evolving. Some of you may find it quite interesting that in the last year alone, what the data told us was that in almost 50% of the hotels we surveyed, the marketing and sales teams actually expanded. But the distribution teams went the other way. The data told us that almost 50% of the hotels, the distribution teams actually shrank, right? While the revenue teams stayed flat. What's more interesting is that while the marketing teams for the hotels grew, what you'll see here is that still the critical tasks related to marketing are still outsourced. Think about this. 66% of the hotels still use PR and social media agencies outside. More than 50% of the hotels still use digital marketing agencies outside the hotel. More than 70% of the hotels we surveyed told us that they did not know how to drive ROAS out of their marketing campaigns and how to drive visibility into new channels, including generative engine optimization, right? That's quite interesting because while the hotels are kind of expanding marketing muscle, there's so much outsourcing happening at the same time. It's like hotels are, upgrading the car, but heading over the steering wheel to 10 different people, all while hoping that they'll steer forward in the forward direction, right? So that's quite interesting. It does not stop there, right? Despite all the talk of digital transformation, what you will see is that almost 80% of the hotels still spend more than 2 days in manual reporting every week. And despite that, less than 20% of the hotels actually invest in next-gen reporting tools. What you'll also see is that from a revenue management perspective, almost 41% of the revenue management teams spend time in manual reporting, while they are supposed to be the lifeblood of hotel commerce, right? It's quite a paradox which we see here. But these are not isolated issues. They are symptoms of what I call the SFS trap. You must be wondering what that is, so let me decode that for you. What I mean there is that when you think about S, the first S, that's the siloed teams. Think about marketing, distribution, sales, revenue teams, all operating with different versions of truth, and they don't speak to each other many times when it comes to data and reporting and direction. That creates chaos from a hotel perspective. Fragmented tech, like I said, 10 different vendors who are not talking to each other, so disconnected technology which the hotels are using, right? And then there is superficial AI, which looks impressive on the surface, all the talks on AI right now, but it does not currently solve many real-world problems for the hotels. And with all this, you would assume that to address this, hotels would straight away rush into AI, right? Well, think again. We actually did a survey which told us that AI is at the bottom of priority for the hotels. First, they want to fix the basics. Think about this. First, what hotels told us that they need clean and better data. What they also told us as the second thing was that they need integrated tech which talks to each other, right? And what they told us was that they need tools which free up their teams from grunt work. So hotels currently in the survey told us that they want to fix the basics first before they rush into AI, right? But I want to just step back again and again give you a little more detail in terms of why hotels are feeling this way. Why is it that they don't want to rush into AI and they want to solve some of these problems? It's very real when I go around and work with hotels. Picture this, ARI tasks, right? Channel updates, parity checks. A lot of this is currently manual for the hotel, including content changes, right? These are supposed to be regular workflow for hotels powered and automated by AI. But that's not happening right now, right? So all of these issues, because of manual reporting and manual work, they lead to a lot of challenges for hoteliers. Revenue bleeds from leakage. Marketing campaigns bleed from leakage and lost trust by travelers. Travelers don't see updated content and they again lose trust, right? So that is what is happening right now. And as a consequence of this, I would say for the hotels, it's not a distribution problem, it's a commerce problem because it impacts their revenue and bottom line currently. And when you think about this, right, think of this. Right now, for many of the hoteliers I was meeting today, there are more API updates they need to do. There are more ARI updates which is happening. There is more channel additions we need to do. Content is getting more and more dynamic and you need to send it across to different places, right? And then again, there's a manual task of going to different channels and updating content. All of this is happening while the distribution teams themselves are shrinking. So that's a recipe for disaster from a hotel's perspective, right? And when you look at it from a headlines perspective, right, the headlines won't lie. When you think about it, OTAs undercut hotels in 75% of the cases. For the hotels, when revenue or when the parity bleeds or parity leakage happens, 32% drop in conversion happens. Almost 1 in 3 marketing dollars is wasted in marketing campaigns by hotels. And while we all know that direct business drives 20% greater ROAS for hotels, most of the hotels are not able to decipher how to get greater ROAS from their campaigns. These are all challenges which the hotels are facing right now. But again, it's not a doomsday. there is a way out of this. And that's what I want to talk about in the remaining part. Right? So how do we break this SFS trap? With what I call the 3C playbook. And let's walk through it once, right? When I talk about the first C, that is converging the teams. Think about your marketing team, sales team, distribution team, and revenue team feeding off one source of truth, one single data lake, right? When you think about consolidating tech, think about bringing all your tech stack together in a unified fashion, which talks to each other. When you think about climbing the AI ladder, move beyond superficial AI and think about 3 steps. So the 3 steps I tell the hoteliers is that first you need to start with automation, then you need to move into predictive intelligence, post which you need to move into agentic AI. And if you follow those steps, you'll be able to increase the efficiency of your stack multifolds, right? So let's take a few examples to kind of really decode this part for all of us. When we think about converging teams, think about revenue teams which feed off RMS, distribution teams which look at channel data, marketing teams which look at campaign dashboards. And in many cases, we see that each of these teams is in an isolated manner looking at their reports. What we can do as hoteliers is that bring all of this data into a single data lake and reporting dashboard where every team feeds off one single source of truth, as well as bring in conversational intelligence there. Ask a question from the data lake and you get the answers, right? Without getting into spreadsheets. Travelers these days are moving into AI tools like ChatGPT, while we as hoteliers are still stuck in spreadsheets. So we need to move beyond that and upgrade our data stack, which is unified across these teams. That is one thing we can do as hoteliers. The second thing, when think about consolidating tech, let me take a very simple example which may resonate with all of you or most of you, is the booking engine. Booking engine for a hotel is supposed to be the heart of driving direct business, right? But in most cases, what we see is that the booking engine, in many cases, does not speak to the website and your conversion drops. Booking engine does not speak to revenue data and parity intelligence and parity drops. Booking engine does not send dynamic rates into meta channels and your traffic drops. Booking engine is not integrated into Gen AI tools like ChatGPT and Claude, and an AI savvy traveler who's actually starting journey from that channel is not able to see your hotel and your visibility is dropping, right? In many cases, booking engine is not properly integrated to CRM and loyalty solutions, and there is little upsell and cross-sell happening. So imagine just one simple thing like a booking engine, which is not integrated with all your other tech stack, is leading to such a frictionful experience for your travelers. And that needs to be addressed by us as hoteliers, right? And then you think about the climbing the AI ladder. Like I was saying, start with automation. Think about parity reporting, ARI updates, new channel updates, right? All of this is something which can be automated for all of us, right? Which frees the team of the grunt work around this. Even the reporting piece, now you could actually get access to reporting which covers the entire spectrum of business from marketing to sales to distribution, which talks to each other, and you will be able to kind of free your team of all that grunt work. Then you move to predictive intelligence. Think about it. These days, you could actually use AI tools to look at flight search signals. You could look at event, where events are happening closer to you. So you could use AI to really drive predictive intelligence, which will help you grow faster with your business, right? And the third C is, in climb the ladder, the third part is agentic AI. So think about this. While you do automation and predictive intelligence, you could also kind of move into agentic AI. Simple things like you could use voice agents and chatbots, which actually are connected to your CRS and which speak to travelers across the world from whichever source markets they are coming from in their language and help them throughout their journey, not only in terms of making or amending bookings, but also in terms of addressing their queries in a human style, all while your team sleeps, right? So that's something which can be really powerful for us as hoteliers if we are able to execute on all these three areas of driving the 3C playbook. I thought before I close, I also wanted to leave you with an inspiration. A lot has been said about AI and how we use it as hoteliers, right? But what does an AI-driven hotel of tomorrow looks like? Let's look at it from a traveler journey perspective. Think about it from an acquisition phase. AI actually looks at signals in terms of flight searches, event data, loyalty database, etc., and automatically shifts ad spends and communication to your travelers to help you drive traffic in a 10x manner, right? And then when you kind of acquire those travelers from a conversion perspective, think about it. Like once a traveler is on ChatGPT and they are landing onto a hotel website, what they could do is on the hotel website, you could personalize their journey with AI. A solo traveler would see local events. A family traveler would see, a packaged holiday. A business traveler would see room upgrades or Wi-Fi upgrades essentially. So that's something which can happen in the conversion phase, essentially again improving or doubling or tripling your conversion from your hotel perspective, right? On top of that, conversational intelligence could sit on top of that system and then interact with the travelers to help them with a seamless journey. I was giving this example to somebody where I was traveling with my family again in this episode of Koh Samui, and I was looking for a connected room because we are a family of 4. And I was actually hesitant to call the hotel and have that whole experience of understanding helping them understand that I needed a connected room, and I had that friction as a traveler to call, to call that number. But what I could do is I could just go to the hotel website and have a conversation with the chatbot there and just mention my need of a connected room. It actually helped me make a booking for the connected rooms without even talking to anybody, right, in a seamless manner. That is the AI-driven hotel of tomorrow, which helps convert travelers across their journey. And think about it from a retention perspective, right? When a traveler is traveling, the more you engage them with AI tools. So I was telling this example to somebody. I was recently at a hotel in Singapore, and I keep traveling there, right? And they know that I'm a vegetarian. I prefer a certain blend of coffee, but I have to repeat that detail every time I'm there, right? AI these days, what we could do, and the tools which are available, we could actually personalize the entire experience for a traveler in this step of retention. Imagine if I was there and they already knew what my preferences were and they acted accordingly. It would not only delight me as a traveler, but it would also help me with retention. It would make me travel back to the hotel if if they are able to understand my preferences, right, as a traveler. So that is the retention phase where AI-driven hotel of tomorrow could actually work across the traveler journey to engage them. One of the other use cases of retention is a lot of hotels have loyalty programs. But how many of us actually dip into that loyal traveler base and understand how many of them are dormant, how many of them are at the risk of attrition, what is happening with those travelers, right? And who are like loyal travelers who are spending a lot more than others, and how do I treat them differently as a hotelier? So in the retention phase, the other thing where AI could come in and help is really identify these segments of travelers and drive communication personalized to each of these segments, essentially, right? And then there is the growth phase. Again, as a traveler, if I'm making a booking, there is so much to do through my travel journey in terms of upselling, like spas or or family activities, etc. So there's a lot which can happen in terms of growth stage as well from a traveler perspective, which is in terms of upselling or predictive intelligence for travelers. So that is the AI-driven hotel of tomorrow across the guest journey, where we could actually automate and personalize every step. So that's like moving from reactive phase where many of us are right now to proactive, intelligent, AI-driven growth, which grows with traveler, which personalizes the traveler experience at the same time. So well, we saw the chaos and we saw the way out, right? But the winners for tomorrow will be hotels who are able to break the chaos behind the scenes, right? AI is like a turbo engine, but if your wheels wobble, you will not race ahead, you'll just crash faster. And that's where the hotels need to come in and first get the foundation right and simplify the traveler journey, and then let AI amplify every step. That's the kind of hotel which is going to win with travelers tomorrow. The only question is, are you ready to take the leap? Well, these were a few insights I wanted to share with you from our state of distribution survey, which I was talking about. What you could also do is you could scan this QR code to get more insights, which we found from the state of distribution survey, and then use those insights to take actions which can help you supercharge your own growth, right? Both in terms of your direct business as well as your traveler experience. So I'll just remain with this slide for a second or for a few seconds. Cool. I just hope and wish that you found this session valuable, and I was able to decode some of the, some of the growth levers for each of you, for your businesses. I'm happy to take the conversation forward and talk more about what I shared and address any questions you may have. Looking forward to continuing the conversation. Thank you, everyone.